The Hiller Flying Platform was built and flown to prove a technical concept still valid for future high-speed vertical takeoff aircraft. Although some Army aviation planners were interested in the remarkable aircraft as an observation vehicle, the Flying Platform was seen by Hiller Aircraft Corporation designers as a step toward creating augmented thrust for vertical takeoff high-speed vehicles.
We're here at Sebring. I'm Dan Johnson, and I'm talking with Warren Novak today, who is going to educate me about something that, well, I've seen it on some video somewhere from maybe the Korean War era, but this isn't that. What are we looking at here, Warren?
Well, it's a similar version of the Flying Platform that Hiller built.
Flying Platform, that's the phrase I couldn't come up with.
Right, and they built them and developed them for the Army and the Navy. Now, it's my understanding, and I don't know if this is for a fact, that they felt they were too slow and they could shoot the soldiers off of them, so they didn't feel it was applicable to military use.
So they flew them, but they didn't actually deploy them into a combat setting.
Right.
Or something.
So then they were slow. So then they developed a jetpack.
Slow, you mean in movement across the ground?
Horizontal movement.
Okay.
Yes, sir. But vertical movement, they're fine. And they're great for getting across ravines and so forth. But with the technology in 1949 and 1950, with cast iron motors and 550 pounds of plywood propellers and so forth, it just didn't seem like it would be feasible for the services to use them. Although I think the Navy tried them afterwards.
So they were 550 pounds empty weight.
Empty weight.
And what are you here?
278 pounds.
Wow, so you cut it in half. Wow.
Plus we have a lot more horsepower. They had 40 horsepower.
Did they use 2 engines as well?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
And is that just for redundancy, or is that for power, or both? Or?
It was to power both props. I don't think it was for redundancy.
Okay, so one engine drives one prop, one engine drives the other. Is that how this
Right,
works
that's
here?
the way this one is set up.
And I don't know if the camera can see down here. We got a point of one prop, and there's a big, wide prop here. Look at the
The production
cord
model.
length on that
The
thing.
production models will have a lot smaller props.
Oh, they will. Okay.
This is my personal one.
Ah, okay.
And this was a prototype. But the personal, the development of the production models will be somewhat different from this version. But we had to put this together and get it to the show. We were committed to the show.
I understand you haven't flown this particular one yet.
No,
when do you anticipate that happening?
Probably in June.
June, okay.
Probably in June.
So you got a little more development work to do.
Right.
Finish
We're
up.
change quite a few things. We've been using Harley Davidson parts, and they're quite expensive. And
they've learned how to charge for that stuff.
Yes, they have. So we like the parts, but I want to be able to change the gear ratios. Like on a 10-speed bike, they're able to change gear ratios.
Oh, okay.
I want to be able to do that.
And why would you want to do that? What?
Well, if a guy buys this, and we don't furnish the engines, we just furnish the framework and the preventive ductwork. If a guy buys this, and he may want to put his own, maybe a Triumph motorcycle engine on it.
Okay.
Okay. He might have to use a different gear ratio. These Rotex engines, which we would recommend, turn 6,000 RPM, right around that, continuously, and produce about 52 horsepower. This particular version.
Which engine is this?
This is the 503.
503.
The 503.
It's the 503. Now they produce a little over 50 horsepower.
Right.
This particular one.
We're very familiar with those from the ultralight world. Dave and I worked in the ultralight world for many, many years, so we know this engine.
Right. Now, if a fellow wanted to bought one of these kits and he wanted to say use a motor out of like a BSA or a Honda or whatever, it may not develop. It may only develop 30 horsepower. So what do you do?
Okay.
You
then
change the gear ratio.
Okay.
So I want that availability. I want that to be available to guys to go, well, I need a smaller pulley to drive this faster. Or I want to change this.
So
pulley.
you want to be able to offer some different parts then.
Absolutely.
So you put your own engine on it, but we got the parts that'll work with that
Right.
engine.
Think about a quick change rear ends in race cars. They could change the gear ratio. Well, this track's shorter than this other track, so we need to go to a lower ratio.
Okay.
You know, so I want that to be an option.
Well, let's talk about the pilot side of it for a while.
Okay.
First of all, how do I even get in it?
You can step on this and
Step on this structural surface there?
Yeah.
And how do you get in it then? Do you have to jump over the top,
No.
or you work your way up? Okay, let's show us. You're going to show us right here now. All right.
There it is.
Captain of your world.
If you can't get into this, you got no business in it.
Okay. And then, how do you operate the thing?
Well, we haven't.
I see you don't have. You probably don't have controls on it.
Right. We didn't have
But
time.
what will you have when you're What does the guy do when he's up there?
We'll have two tachometers right here.
Okay, that's the instrument panel. So
yes, sir. Yeah,
okay.
to make sure the motors are running the center. And we'll have a throttle control, a few other instruments. Richard's doing the instrumentation on it. I'm out of that part of the loop. He keeps me away from that. But he's going to be handling the instrumentation, all the wiring. Richard used to do avionics for many years, and he's very versed in that field.
Right, how do you control the aircraft when you're up there?
Yeah, you got engine controls. Okay, you can change the speed of the engine. How do you?
Right, it's a weight shift. Okay.
Weight shift.
All right.
You just kind of like a Segway, sort of lean the way you want to go.
That's right, and we're also going to incorporate a couple of ailerons in here on this segment.
How would an aileron work on this?
Well, just like it works on an aircraft. You'll have a lever that you push like that. You want to go this way, you can turn it. That helps. That's an assist.
It's an assist to the weight. You're going to do the weight shift too, but that's going to kind of like
I think that would be necessary. I think that's necessary, especially in wind conditions. I don't know that the weight shift would be enough, but with the aileron, now this is going to.
So you'd stand in it in sort of the same position all the time.
Pretty much.
And that is forward to be, even though it's round. You don't just go backwards and stuff all the time.
Go in any direction.
You can, I understand, but you typically would operate it in some direction.
I would think you'd want to see where you're headed.
Well, I would too, but hey, different people want different things.
Sure.
So you got throttles for each engine. You got an aileron control. How do you manage all of that with your hands?
Throttles, you're not going to be varying the throttle speed.
You're going to put the throttle on.
You're going to put the
just like a fixed wing aircraft.
Right. The throttles will be locked in at a certain point, and then you're going to start leaning or whatever, and you might have a lever, So you would be standing this way. Sorry, we're backwards. You'd be standing this way. Control.
Up and around over here. Okay, so
your controls are going to be right here.
Really, what provides the stability to it? Okay, you get up there and you start leaning in a certain way.
It's inherently stable.
It wants to stay this way. You have to
fight
of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because of the.
So if you just stop leaning all the way one way and stand up.
You shouldn't have to lean much at all.
Okay.
The counter rotating.
Yeah, give me an example of what you expect in the way of actual motion. Okay, you're just going to lean up against the side of it. That's all.
Lean like that. And with the ailerons, it would assist you. The counter-rotating props makes it inherently stable. It acts as a gyroscopic action. Which, according to everything that we've researched, you couldn't turn this over if you had to.
Is that right?
Everything that we've seen.
Fascinating. Now, you've not flown one of these before.
Who's
going to do the first one?
Probably me, because I'm a licensed pilot.
And
I hope the FAA doesn't.
Does that give you any concern?
No, none whatsoever.
How would you go about it? Would you just sort of hop up and down a little bit?
No, I'd put a 2-foot tether on it.
Okay. Just get used to that. Just kind of like flying a helicopter.
Get used to the power. Then I'd go with a 4-foot tether, and everything works fine. And cut it loose.
Well, we're going to have to come back and check with Warren on this, but I've asked you all the stupid questions I can think of to ask. That's probably the ones a lot of people are wondering.
They're not stupid.
But
they're very valid.
Where do we go get more information for those that want it, and how do we get in touch with you? You got a web address?
We have a website. Roger here can tell you about the website. Right. He set it up.
What's the website, Roger?
It's Flying Platform LLC.com.
FlyingPlatformLLC.com. Okay. Well, usually I say at the end of these videos that I've got other information about these on my website, but I can't do that because I've never even seen one of these in the fiberglass and aluminum before, I guess, instead of the flesh. But eventually I'll have something. That'll be available on buydanjohnson.com or bydanjohnson.com. Thanks a lot for joining us here at Sebring.